My name is Kristen Newman. I had a near-death experience. For me, at this point in time, it's January, and this near-death experience happened just a couple months ago in November. I have had heart issues, electrical issues, we know for at least approximately 20 years. And then in mid 2016, as kind of a little backstory, I had a spiritual awakening. Mediumship came up and all those different types of things. So I would talk to those that have passed in spirit, and they would always speak with me privately as well. So after I was done speaking with someone, they would tell me, Kristen, it doesn't hurt, and just different things. And I always thought that was very sweet of them to talk specifically to me. So not just people, but animals too. But on November 3rd, it's actually my husband's birthday. It's my husband's birthday, and he is normally gone in the morning. He leaves early for work. But he happened to stay home that day so we can spend the day together. And my daughter, our daughter, who is 21, was supposed to be up and out as well. And she decided, no, I'm going to sleep in. So she slept in that day. So both were home. I was feeling pretty good because with electrical issues, my heart rate goes really fast and I can get dizzy and nauseous and all these different feelings. But I was having one of my better mornings. I felt really good. I went into the shower and my husband was laying in bed. I had the door open. And when I went in the shower, I happened to be washing my face. And there was no chance for me to take a breath. I couldn't speak. There was no help. There was nothing that I could mutter out. I just instinctively leaned against the wall in the shower. And in that instance, as soon as I leaned against the wall, my spirit came out of my crown, the top of my head, and I faced myself and I could see myself. I knew what was happening. I knew this is Kristen. I'm out of body. I knew exactly what was happening. And when I was looking at myself, I watched myself slide down and then fall over and hit my head on the marble tile of the bathroom. I could only see snippets. So my husband had said, well, whatever you did, you got the dog's attention. And he turned over and looked and saw me on the floor and ran over. I started turning blue. He screamed for my daughter, and he had to give me constant chest compressions to keep me alive because when he would stop, I would start turning blue again. But when I was in spirit and I watched myself fall, I couldn't see my husband. I could see me, and I saw myself turn purple. My husband said, you turn blue, then purple. Then I zoomed into my daughter's face, and she's just steadfast, just like her dad. She knew I have something to do. Let's get this done, and she was focused and strong. And then I zoomed into the ambulance where they were breathing for me, and then I pulled right out of my body, well, right out of the ambulance and into spirit. The first place I went to was with God, with Source. And it was the most amazing experience because I remember what it feels like to not have a body. I remember just there's no body. We're light, and I was just swirling around, what we would call dancing. And I was just swirling around, and I was right in front of this huge ball of light that is Source. And the only way I can describe how Source looks, and I call God He just from my Catholic upbringing, but when you look at the sun or a sunset and you see this yellow, this beautiful warm yellow color, that's what God looked like. And he was so proud. I remember him saying, you did so wonderful. What a great job. And I was just so overjoyed and so overwhelmed with so much love. The amount of love that you feel, it's indescribable. Talking about, the love of your child or a spouse and family, a pet, all together. I mean, it's just the amount of love I was amazing. And Source had I remember feeling what it was like to be so light. And other than the fact that we don't have a body, there were no low vibrational emotions. There's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no anger, there's no nothing. There was just only love, only joy, this amazing, beautiful feeling. And I remember thinking, wow, the weight we carry as human beings. And that's what God was congratulating me about. And He said, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of everyone. When I was in that moment, I remember having, it's weird because it's your consciousness. It was like I was looking down, but we're light. So it's just your consciousness that looks down. And I would see these beams of light come on to me. I looked like the sun with all of these rays, but the rays were coming to me. And Source said, look down, and each ray of light is someone praying for you. And because I was intubated, and so it was approximately 20 hours that I was unresponsive, maybe 18 to 20 hours that I was unresponsive. I couldn't breathe on my own. So I had all of these people praying for me. And I can look, I don't remember, but I can look at the ray of lights. And God said, if you look at that ray, you can go right to that person. I could hear Kristen, 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 Kristen. I can just hear it every time I looked at all the different rays of light, knowing that I had beautiful souls and loved ones praying for me. So when I was with God and had the conversation about how all is mind, how we really, the way that our thoughts are, what is inside is what's reflected outside. So, really working on the self is such a way to transform and raise your consciousness. And that's why I just felt so free in spirit because I didn't have the weight of those low vibrations. And I remember from there, it was like all of these huge, I guess I'll call them screens, but I could like a life review. And it was all of the joyful moments of my life. There was nothing, hear people talk about life reviews and how they can be, you see the things that you've done that could hurt other people, things like that. My review, it was beautiful. I remember being one or two, and I was handing my mom, I think it was some kind of flower, and she knelt down, but I could feel her joy. I could feel her love. And then it went to my dad and to my sisters and to my husband, and it was just different roles I could see coming by, and I could feel how they felt the joy, the love, the laughter. And from there, I went and saw everyone. I saw guides that are with us, angels. Since birth, we are so very supported in this world, and they were all there. Family, everyone I've ever channeled was there. And there was a boy, a young man that I had channeled for a friend of mine that had passed maybe about 5-ish years ago. And I've channeled him many times. And he was right in the front, and he had this smirk, one side up higher than the other. And we embraced. And it was, hi, it's so nice. We were just so overjoyed to see one another, to see all of these animals that I've channeled, animals that I have, passed in my life that I'm connected to. They were all there. And I remember seeing Jesus, and he looks just like I was raised Catholic. So that's how I perceive what Jesus looks like is in the Catholicism, in the Catholic religion. And he put his hand on my heart, what would be where my heart is. It just felt like the center of my being. And telepathically, he just said, I am, you are, we are. And I knew that it was the connection, the love that we all have for one another, and that we have such great power within us. We have this brain that tells us all the logical human things to do. The ego resides in there. But then we have this heart that is connected with spirit. That is the spirit brain, is the heart center. And it was just profound. And there's no speaking, there's no mouths to speak. It's all done telepathically. From there, I had to make a decision. Did I want to stay or did I want to go back? And I remember bringing my awareness back to my physical body. And I don't remember seeing myself. It looks kind of shadowy the way that I saw myself, but they wouldn't let me see. I couldn't see my husband or anything. And I remember thinking, I love her. I love this life. I love those who love me, and I'm not finished yet. So as soon as I said that, it was like, okay, I had decisions to make and was making choices, contracts for the remainder of my life, different things to experience. I was able to take things off of the table, so to speak, and say, nope, we're not doing that. We're going to do this. We're going to make it, I remember we're going to make it good. So, but I don't remember what it is I took off or what it is I put on. But I remember being very excited about it. And I had the choice to do certain things. And when I chose to come back, and after that experience of making the new contracts and deciding what I was going to do in the remainder of my life, when I went back into body, I was back. Like they had to sedate me more in my physical body because I was back. I was ready to come back. And when I woke up, I couldn't remember more than 30 seconds. And then it was 2 minutes and maybe 10 minutes. So it took, I don't remember, I was in the hospital for 6 days total, but the first 4 days I really don't remember anything about because I was so sedated that it causes issues with memory. And when I had friends come in and they would ask me, what did you see? And everything, I remember my friend saying to me, everything I was just searching for. I couldn't think of, okay, when was my birthday? They would ask me all of these questions. They know that, my brain was working okay because I had hit my head. They put staples in my head and they would ask me questions, and she said everything. You could see like my eyes moving around because I was trying to find words and answers. But when my friend's husband said, Kristen, what did you see? There was no question, and I was able to just say I was with God. I saw loved ones. And the biggest thing about this experience is we don't feel pain. God takes us right out. As soon as there was a panic, I guess the stroke where my heart had stopped and I, maybe would have been gasping or something like that, I was pulled right out. It was quick. It was like a blink, and being able to see there's no time. There's just I saw a few things here and then went with spirit, and we're always connected to those that have passed. Animals, loved ones, friends, everything. They're all around us. Guides, angels, guardian angels, whatever you want to call them, to experience before my near death. Channeling and doing mediumship was one level, but then to experience it from the other side was so profound. Everything my guides have told me about being loved and being so supported. Everything that when I would channel loved ones, my own loved ones, animals that have passed, and loved ones of others, have always said, we experience life through you and with you. And, show us amazing, show us happy and joy. We're right there with you. It's just learning to experience your loved ones in a different way when they pass because energy never dies. We're just in this human body for a short while. And when we pass, our energy moves outside of this shell we call a body, and we don't die. And it's all about love and connection and learning how to connect with your loved ones and see those signs and God winks, I call them, or synchronicities. They'll give you signs, your loved ones, especially if you play with them and you ask, can you show me a cardinal? Grandma, can you show me a cardinal or something like that? And I think the other thing too is my mom, when my parents were on their way to the hospital and They all know what I do, and I've been able to teach my mom how to connect with her guides and loved ones. And on the way to the hospital, she says, "Guides, please give me a sign that she's going to be okay." And we have nicknames for one another. She's my tree, and I'm her apple. Her apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And when they got to the hospital, the nurse walks up and she says, "Hi, my name is Apple, and I'm going to be working with Kristen." And she says, "Excuse me?" And she goes, "Yes, my name's Apple. My name's Apollonia, but my friends call me Apple." And that was the sign. So just so many magical things have happened. My friend, whose son I saw in the near death experience, he went to his mom and said, "I saw Kristen," because they were praying, they were all praying for me. And her son came forward and said, "I saw Kristen," and we embraced. And when I was back a few weeks after I got out of the hospital and I had defibrillator surgery and everything, I had messaged her and said, "I saw your son on the other side. This is what his smile looked like." And we embraced. And she goes, "Kristen, that's exactly the smile that he would make, is this little smirk." And he went to her because she's a medium as well. He went to her to tell her, "I was with Kristen. I saw Kristen." So it was being able to validate one another, and it was a magical experience. I don't remember the trauma aspect, only recovering. I remember just being sore, hard to breathe. I had to work on breathing for a few days, but man, when I was back, I was back. And it was just profound for me, this experience. So for my family to have such trauma seeing me in that state, I had this amazing euphoric experience, and it just validated so much in my life. And I just hope that my story shows you how loved we are, how we never die, how our loved ones are always with us, how there's no pain when we do pass, if it is our time, or if you're worried about your loved ones, if they were alone or something like that when they had passed. It's like a blink and God takes us right out. And we are so loved and supported, and all is mind. We have so much more control than we think. And it's about going to that heart space and allowing that spirit brain to come out more, so you can experience hearing guides, hearing loved ones, and having this sense of peace and calm in your life, and just knowing that everything's going to be okay. And it can truly be amazing and magical.